Welcome. My name is Diana Loderhose. I'm the International Features Editor here at Deadline. We are here for another day at our Red Sea studio here in Jeddah, and I'm delighted to be here with Tarim Singh, the director of Dear Jassi, and the film's stars Pavia Sidhu, who plays Jassi, and Yugam Sood, who plays Mithu. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
So, Tasim, this film, it's based or inspired by a true story.
More than inspired by, I think it's pretty close, I feel.
Right. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Well, it was an incident that happened about 23 years ago where somebody married below their station, and which is quite often a problem in that part of the world when you have somebody, if you have a joint house and you have 10 daughters living in it, if one of them goes, breaks some other boundary, the other 8 might never get married. So the amount of pressure that's there in the house, they did something that's absolutely unacceptable in any culture. And it was just something I wanted to shine a light on.
And in terms of how familiar you were with this specific story, because it's based on a specific woman in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And how familiar were you with her story?
Quite familiar because I actually heard about this 23 years ago. And I told my brother it's the kind of story that will unfortunately not really date because it's been happening for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I don't see an end. It's just getting less, but maybe getting hinted under the carpet more. But it's not going to go away. So I thought we either make the movie immediately or wait for about 2 decades when it becomes retro. And then I did a personal film and I had to wait for 20 years. And this was the time, about 10 years earlier is when I'd left Punjab, where the Indian part of the story had happened, and gone to Canada with Vancouver, which is pretty close to this. So I've been there for only a couple of months. But I kind of knew the two places' aroma. Mm-hmm. And I just thought if there's a film that I feel that the ground is familiar in, it's a good one to attack. So I was familiar with the story. Just the main thing was that I knew that in the end there was a telephone call where the kidnappers made to the mother, and the kidnappers who were hired by the mother and her father to take these guys out. And in that conversation, the mother said something that was so appalling to me that I just thought if there's any kernel of truth in this, how do you not justify, but how do you create a world where such a dialogue is even believable? Mm-hmm. So I kind of reverse engineered the rest of the film, thinking that if this dialogue is a given, what is the world that these people live in that is actually okay to accept?
Can you tell us what the dialogue is, or is that ruining?
No.
Is that a spoiler?
I think she said, when they said, something she said, the exact something was, well, I'll paraphrase then. She said, do whatever you want, she means nothing to us. And they basically, when they're saying that we're going to slit her throat, and she goes, she means nothing to us. So I just thought, and I think that was a piece of dialogue that me and the writer and everybody had quite a lot of contention on, because it comes from the people who are charged with the killing. And they were thinking it was quite villainous to just say, do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. It was like that. It wasn't, I felt. Because I thought in a place like this, I'll put what you would classically put the villain in, which is the mother. I'll put my mother in that position where people who mean well can do such a lot of harm by trying to protect the other 8 girls or whatever they've got in the joint family. And I kind of went and gave this person not reason enough that she's hysterical, she's crying. It's like my mother would do when they're flailing, they scratch you the worst and they hit you the worst. And that's what the mother was doing. But I kept the dialogue the same. And that was a piece of dialogue that the kidnappers who had done the killing had said this was the last instruction by the mother. So the rest of the film was reverse engineered just by that dialogue.
God, it gives me chills just even hearing you, seeing the film, hearing you talk about this still, it gives you chills because as a mother, it's unfathomable for so many of us. And
they are very close. The family is very close. People just think maybe there was a lot of problem or friction between. There wasn't. It's just the circumstances led to the perfect storm. But this thing it's not particularly a religious thing. It's a cultural phenomenon that happens, and it can happen if the economics are off or if the religions are off. It can happen for whole, it happens among the Muslims, happens among the Punjabis, among the Hindus, and through all of them. It's just been acceptable for too long enough, and I think the word used for it that I take offense to is that everybody calls it honor killing. And I'm trying to change, just the journalists, hopefully somebody with better grasp of the English language than me, should use to change the nomenclature. Of there's nothing honorable about infanticide or killing anybody of your children. They didn't take the word honor out of it because it looks like this is justifiable and it's an honorable thing to do. It should be called some form of murder that it is, as opposed to honor killing. So I was very much debating on if it should be called that. I just said, no, I actually want people to take that out of the equation and not use that word because it seems to lead credence to the other side.
Exactly. No, that's a very good point. Pavia, you play the lead role of Jassi, who falls in love with Yugam's character Mithu, the very person that her mother doesn't want her to be with, and ultimately ends in a very sad and horrific ending for her. Tell us a little bit about your initial reactions when you were, when you read the script and working with Tarim, how he kind of carefully guided you through such an intense process.
I mean, the thing, it happened so fast. The story's been told. I was 24 hours to decide. I flew in.
No, I had 24 hours to find her.
Yeah. Well, I had 24 hours to get there, and even once I got there, I had to. Unfortunately, I had not known about the story very well beforehand, so I really had to get more information as soon as possible.
Were you born when it happened, or
I was born when she passed, after she had passed away, so I had to really look back to that time and understand it. I think it was 2 weeks before we started shooting, but to be honest, I didn't find it. I wasn't nervous or anything. I just went right into it as much as I could within that time, and thankfully, the director, the amazing director, he was just very, very kind, and he let me ask questions. I would always ask questions. I think I was annoying for a bit, but he would let me do, and he let me go with whatever I thought. He always let us all follow our instincts, which I don't know if was for good or not, but he definitely let us, so thank you.
I think it was because the script was just a guideline. When I got them in there, I just said I want the people who are not putting on accents, who are not because they're not actors. He was a sportsman, never done anything before. Her, as far as I knew, had once been in a music video. And the moment I found out from a Bhangra group, a dance group, that she was like this, I said, send me a picture, which didn't really work because she sent me Instagram. So the guy sent me Instagram, and I don't have any of the Twitters or anything. So then when she sent me a picture, I talked to her while cycling, and I just said, you're the person. So when she came, I just had to really get them near each other and let the lines come out. Mm-hmm. So there was only a situational rehearsal. I took them to the house where she would live, where he would live, show them the houses from each other, and just said, this is, I think, where we'll talk generally about this. So whatever dialogue's written, it means nothing. So we need to throw it out. So we didn't do rehearsals so that suddenly becomes a mechanical. It was more of a situational rehearsal that we did. So on the day that we arrived, we'd do about 2 or 3 takes, and there was no coverage. So it's kind of shot in master shots, and whatever came out was the instinctual decision actually worked out because they were the real deal.
So was the dialogue improvised or no?
Well, most of it is, because the thing is, it's written by a guy in Hindi who's not from Punjab. I'm from Punjab, but I can't read Punjabi. But something very typical that they do is, which is Romano, which is they'll write it in English in that one, and I can't read that either. So somebody had to, which was a really learned thing for me, but I loved it, where somebody would read to me and tell me the lines, and I would just say away from them, that this is what the intention is. I would just say good. And then I would explain it to them in a broken up way. And then it was like a Chinese whisper that they never really got to read anything that was supposed to be verbatim said. Mm-hmm. They just were aware of the situation. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how things, so a lot of it was kind of written by them because the writer is Hindi. He gave it to somebody else to write it by dialogue in Punjabi. And so it was never going to work out if you had to copy what was on paper. You just ended up with a soap opera.
I remember I would memorize all the lines, and it would show up, and he'd be like, just throw it away. And I'd be like, oh, okay. There goes 3 hours.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, Yugam, can you tell me a little bit about how you came to the role and what your kind of experiences were working with Tarim?
Just before he starts, Yogam didn't speak English at all, but after it happened, he's been taking lots of lessons, and this is in about 5-6 months, and he's done incredibly well. But their miscommunication, the language was part of why they were cast, but now he speaks very well.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I remember I gave first time audition for the movie or for anything. I did they take 3 or 4 shots, and they send my video to the casting director Tarim sir. He selected me. That was my first time I gave audition, and I didn't knew that I'm gonna do the lead role of the movie. I was thinking that I'm gonna do some short part of the movie, but it didn't. I really so happy. I was so happy, and I am so happy. If I talk about working with Tasim sir, this man treats me like his own son on the set. There was
I'm
no
not
my
that old.
family. There's no family on shooting. He was the only man who was taking care of me. If I talk about the experience, it was amazing. I learned a lot of things. I love the way he's do magic on the set. He don't really talk too much with everyone. Depends on other, like someone is spot by came and just fix the things over there. He just do it himself. I love it so much. And the other thing, he's so kind, he's so humble. He never let you, take stress of anything. Whenever I didn't come to know anything, I just went to him and, sir, I don't know what should I do? How should I do this scene? Okay, is this ever happened to you? Just think of it. I said, okay, go. This is an amazing thing. He never let me, he never let me be stuck in dialogues. He was just saying, this is your language, this is you, this is story. Now what you can do?
Because the stuff that was written was quite lame. Most of the stuff that came up, all the funny stuff that's there, that was the two of them. They would just talk, and his Punjabi, for lack of a word, is like my one from the village. It's very vulgar, and it's very beneath city language. So she would just laugh out at him if he would say pija or whatever like that, but that was his general accent. So I knew that that was worth its weight in gold, but you can't rehearse it again and again because then she'll start acting.
Yeah. It sounds like it was a very safe space on set, probably the most wonderful place to be considering the intense subject matter.
It really feels like home on the set. I'm really missing it.
It felt better than my home.
Okay, so Tarsib, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
You've had such a storied career so far, and this is the first time I believe you've set one of your feature films, in your home country. Tell us a little bit about working in India and why it's taken so long.
Well, The Fall was quite shot a little bit there, but it's shot in 28 different countries. So India was one of them. Right. So I'd shot there, but just wanting to shoot here, I just thought like I wanted to tell a story just from the area that I came in. How would it be different? I didn't want it to, because I'm known for fantastical stuff. And I wanted this to be much more like much more near-realist, more like the Iranian neorealism of today, which is a bit of mysticism attached to it. I wanted to make it much more in that style, but the subject matter was very hard. So wanted to do it in India, and I just thought that India got much, much, much better compared to like 35 years ago when I first went out there trying to do commercials 30 years ago, because nobody understood the hierarchy. Most of my crew used to be white, and I'd come out there and every problem would come to me. And it was an impossible situation to work in because they would just say, where shall I park the trucks? Who's the food for? What does that person do? And I'd say, that's the AD, talk to them. And they would just say, but they're white. So it was very hard to convince them that these white guys were working for me. And it took eons, but now after the last, that was about 15 years ago when I went to India, they understood the hierarchy for everything. And I only brought one white person, my Irish friend, my cameraman, Brendan Galvin. I brought, otherwise, the local crews are amazing, and they always were. Yeah. And I would have liked, if there was a shorter cut, if I didn't need the shortcut with Brendan, I would have liked to have tried somebody Indian there too. But Brendan's amazing, and we've worked for a long time. So for me, I wanted to do something there, but I don't think that the situation allowed me to work there with the kind of crew that I had, because just nobody would think that you were boss. Just because there were white people around me.
Yeah, I'm glad it's changed. I'm glad it's evolved.
Yes.
Listen, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. Congratulations on this magnificent film. We wish
Thank
you
you.
all the best.
Thank you so much.
you.
Bye.